Yeah, Day in the Life came out of a relationship that I'd had with Hulu for a long time. Hulu has been incredibly supportive of me for many, many years. Super Size was one of the most watched films they'd had, and ever since their launch. They had 30 Days on their network. They also had Where in the World is Osama bin Laden. And so when they started to develop original programming, they called and said, would you be interested in doing a show with us? And I said, absolutely. And so we flew out there, talked about some ideas, and the one that really stuck with them was a show that we've been trying to make for a couple years called A Day in the Life, where we basically spend 24 hours with an incredibly motivated, inspiring, kind of driven individual, kind of get a little window into their world. Well, I tell you the thing that's really exciting for me as a filmmaker and somebody who has been trying to push for greater ownership of my own projects for a long time is that you really have a real sense of ownership in your IP when you do a show with a Hulu or with a Yahoo. Basically these are real partners. Like I have a real partner in these shows where I own half the IP. Like we basically are 50-50 ownership, 50-50 ownership of these projects, which is rare. With 30 Days, we owned a third of that show when we did that show with Reveille and with FX, and even that was kind of unheard of at the time, because most of the times when you sell a show to a network, you may get 5%, 10% of your show, and that's it. So for us, it was a real kind of step in the right direction, and kind of growing our company and having kind of a greater investment in our own future. What network television still does really well is kind of saturate their audience with upcoming programming. So when shows are going to premiere on that network, both whether it's through on-channel advertising or outside of market advertising. So, what we've done a great job with on this show, and Hulu's done a great job with, is kind of letting their audience, which is already big fans of Hulu, knowing when A Day in the Life is coming. And so they've kind of pushed people towards it consistently. And what we've ended up with are like kind of real basic cable numbers. Millions of people who've watched these episodes over, the past, year and a half. It's remarkable. And for them, it's also been incredibly profitable, both for them and us. We've created a show at a very low profit, or a very low expense. We've tried to cap everything very much in like a low six-figure world, and we've made something that is, I think it's being able to generate something that is really real. There's always a wish list. There's always you always want President Obama. I want President Obama to say yes every year. Wouldn't it be great to see A Day in the Life of President Obama? But what you hope and what I would love to see is, now that we've done this deal with Fremantle and we're expanding, expanding the format globally and worldwide, is to start to get some more international figures. So I think we'll have a good chance of getting an international politician in season 3. I think whether it's would you get a Sarkozy? I don't know. We're going to try. David Cameron. I think that the possibilities are really exciting about some international leaders to come in. A new Britannia is just like it's a dream come true for me. I grew up loving British comedies. I grew up loving British television, and I had a real affinity for for England ever since I was a child. And so when I first went there in my 20s, and then when I went back in my 30s when Super Size Me was premiering over there, and I was hosting a show for More 4 called The Last Word, there was talk with the networks. They said, you should come over here and do a show. And so it kind of started brewing then, and kind of chatter about, could we do this? What kind of type of show would it be? And I decided I would love to try and do a show that's like a politically incorrect-esque show, like Bill Maher's old show, and even Real Time that he does now, or The Daily Show, where they deal with kind of these kind of big world events, but in a very funny way, that make them accessible to an audience, that engage an audience. And so when we kind of pitched that idea to Sky Atlantic, and they're like, we love it, let's do it. It was just something I couldn't say no to. It was awesome. Yeah, there's always, I have a little boy who's 5, and he's just started public school in New York City, and I think that the idea of public education is still something that I think, especially in the United States, that we need to really look at. And what's happening in public education now is spreading internationally. It's happening in the UK. There's the same types of problems are popping up there. As they're talking about splitting up terms and kind of what's happening with teachers, and they're losing pensions, and there's so many layers that are kind of a global problem when it comes to education. And I think that for me, something in that world is it's going to happen. At some point, I'm going to do something about education. I'm going to make a film about it or a TV show. I don't know what it is yet, but I'm continuing to find myself frustrated with the environment. There's a couple films, like my next film, which is, Comic-Con Episode 4, A Fan's Hope, which is a movie that we've done with Stan Lee and Joss Whedon and Thomas Tull and Harry Knowles, and it's this incredible geek dream team that came together to make this movie all about the world's largest kind of pop culture convention that happens every July in San Diego. So I think people are going to love it, because it really does kind of give you an eye into geekdom and a window into this passion and exuberance that I think it's really unmatched. So that's next, and then we're finishing a movie that I think people are going to love. That's it's called Mansom, and Mansom is all about being a manly, handsome man. And we've done the film with Will Arnett and Jason Bateman, Zach Galifianakis, Judd Apatow, Paul Rudd. There's like a great group of people in this film. It's a documentary, but we talked to all those folks in it, and it's about the magical world of masculinity and manscaping. I'm in a really fortunate place. I've been really lucky from day one that we have yet to make a film that hasn't been profitable. Like every investor we've ever had has made their money back. Every movie we've ever made has gotten into the black. Even if it's squeaked into the black, it's still been in the black. So for me, I think that puts me in a very different position than a lot of first-time filmmakers. But I think what I love is I love the opportunities that documentaries have. There's more places to sell documentaries, there's more places to show documentaries, there's more opportunities for documentary filmmakers than there've been in the last 20 years, and I think that's great.